Hey guys, Red Doolittle here, CEO of Business Warrior. I'm going to cut to the chase. You're here because you're a retail store owner. You own a furniture store, a mattress store, you sell trailers, pretty much anything, any physical products that you can lease to own. And you may be very familiar with lease to own today, or you may just be looking on adding it to your business. But you've come here because you're thinking about, or you've realized the benefits of bringing financing in-house. Or you've just seen the writing on the wall with these third-party lease vendors like Snap and Progressive on how they're really tightening underwriting rules, and you're sick of them decreasing your sales. So I'm going to show you all the numbers, how it works, break it down on a per deal basis to really make it simple, show you exactly why they're making the underwriting decisions that they are, how you can turn that into your advantage, and in the end, how you can make more money, bring in more customers, and use this financing program to actually attract more customers in the door as well. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is just break this down per deal. I've got some metrics here. I'm going to go over a lot of numbers. So the first thing is I took just a normal store. I tried to use some flat numbers to make it simple so everybody can easily understand. So the first thing we're going to do is that assume you have an average ticket price of $1,000. So you're selling, let's say, a couch for $1,000 in this instance. And your markup on that, you have a 50% gross margin on that couch. So that couch that you're selling for $1,000 costs you $500. We're going to assume no down payment. Obviously, if just you alone, you sell the couch, cost you $500, you're going to make $500. Okay. Third party leasing company, if you were to take that to a Snap or anything else, and let's say you're on a 100% split, sometimes they'll take 95 and they'll take it, but let's just assume the worst case for you, or best case in this scenario for you, you get that full $1,000. So if you take this to a third party vendor, obviously they're going to pay you $1,000 up front. Their cost of goods is $1,000 on that. So if they just were to pay you $1,000, they make zero and you make 500. And this is why everybody does this. If you were to bring this in-house, we know what the struggle is. You're used to making $500. When these third-party vendors came out, everybody loved it because you could attract more borrowers. People that couldn't afford that $1,000 couch would spend more, you would close more and everything else. And that was great. It solved a big problem in the industry. But things have changed. And if you were going to bring that in-house financing, we understand the problem, and I'm going to talk about that today because I know that's the biggest thing holding people back from bringing financing in-house. Is if you were to sell that $1,000 couch, you have a $500 cost of goods sold, and if you're going to do in-house financing, you're out $500 right in the beginning. So let's break that down a little bit. The way we're going to break that down is all the factors here, including default rate and everything else. So that third-party lender, obviously, they paid you $1,000, so they have, at the time of sale, they made zero, right? So they're going to make all their money on interest and fees and everything else after the fact. On a 2.2 lease factor rate, that would give them the opportunity to make $2,200 on that couch. So now they're making $2,200 minus $1,000, they're making $1,200 on that same couch that you made $500 on. That's crazy. Now, if you factor in, let's even take this higher. Let's put this at like a 35% default rate. That means 35% of the customers are dropping out. Let's just assume we're going to spread that out. Even though a 35% default rate, the best way to build a model is look at it on a per deal basis to just really simplify things. But obviously, you can't lose a partial of a deal, right? So, but we're going to do this to simplify things. So if you take out 35% from that $2,200 total opportunity that they can make, now they have a total opportunity to make $1,430. Still, $1,430 minus their $1,000 cost of goods, which is the $1,000 they paid you, they're still making $430. So they can have a default factor of as high as 30% and still make more money than you on that couch. You're the one who paid for the advertising, brought the people in the store, got them in the store, held the inventory, had to put up the money to hold the inventory for that couch, pay for the building, everything else, everything that goes into that, probably have commission for your sales rep, and you're making less than this company that, just provided a financing opportunity for you, which is crazy. So let's look at it if you were to bring that financing in-house and what that does. I'm gonna come to this cost of goods sold here because that is the magic in this whole thing. So that same $1,000, let's just like we talked about, if you were to bring that in-house, obviously you sell the couch for $1,000, but you're going to finance it. So right off the beginning, you're not going to make anything. In fact, you lose something because it's costing you $500. So you're out $500 as opposed to making $500. That's why everybody wants to keep third-party lenders in there. But let's look at this. So now they're going to finance $1,000. You have that same opportunity to make $2,200 on that with a 2.2 lease factor rate. Yeah, you can make the same amount as these guys. And then even with that same, we're going to look at apples to apples, that 30% default rate. So after that, you're going to make $1,540. But you just drop this $1,540 down right here, and then you take out. Now here's the magic. Your cost of goods sold is only $500. Their cost of goods sold is $1,000. So you're going to make $1,040 versus these third-party vendors are making $540. These numbers right here are the reason why you're going to be able to approve more deals than these third-party vendors. Why? Because your cost of goods sold is $500 and theirs is $1,000. That means if you had your own system and everything else and underwriting and you had this all figured out like we're going to help you do, you can make an underwriting decision based on $500 versus $1,000. That's a huge difference. You can actually take more risk than they are taking and make a lot more money, or you can make the same amount of risk that they're making, but because you're going to make that underwriting decision based on $500 instead of $1,000, you're going to make more money. So this gets really, really fun. And this is the magic. And of course, it's like, well, of course, now you understand that. Why not do it, immediately? Well, in the past, you just couldn't do it. And, these third-party leasing vendors, they earned their money. It cost thousands of dollars to build software. You had to have underwriters. You had to have the data to make the right underwriting decisions. You had to have customer service. You had to collect payments. You had to do collections. All that stuff cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So it was a fair trade. When these guys first came out, it was like, they were the savior to a lot of retailers because you could increase sales and make more money. But that has really shifted. Technology is advanced. AI is advanced. All these things. So now it doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars to bring financing in-house. I'm going to show you how easy it is and what our options are for you. But so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show, because you're still like, what every retailer tells me is like, yeah, Rhett, but I'm still out $500. So how much can I really do this? How long is it going to take me to make that money back? I get the big picture. I'm making more than double even at this high default rate. So if I lower this default rate, you're going to make even more money. But let's just keep it at the high default rate for example purposes. How do I get past this short term? So I'm going to show you. So right now I have this old model in. We were building something, so I'm going to simplify this here and put it back. All right, so let's say you're a business owner and your furniture store, you're doing $50,000 a month. You still have that same average ticket size of 1,000, which means you have 50 deals just to keep things simple. Let's assume that 8 of those deals you're taking to a Snap or a Progressive or a Cornerstone, one of these third-party leasing vendors, right? So out of that 50, 8 of those are third-party. So this column right here is your existing without any in-house financing. And then rows 1 on through 24 is each month thereafter and what it's going to look like if you brought that financing in-house. So I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you these yellow numbers because this is after the first year of transitioning, how much more money you're going to make. So first, okay, so right off the bat, you've got 8 third-party deals. You're like, Rhett, I don't want to just jump into this. I know I could make more money long-term, but what's realistic? So the first month, you just get it launched. You teach your staff, okay, let's just close 1 new sale. And you can get 1 new sale again because you're going to be able to approve more customers than these guys are approving. And I've heard all the nightmare stories of what's happening lately. I've heard these third-party lease vendors shut down states completely because of the risk. I've heard them just tightening underwriting guidelines and approving a lot less, approving for less amounts. So you're going to be able to get aggressive, and our technology takes care of that for you. But even if it didn't, I'll show you how to do this. So let's say that first month, you close 1 new sale that you didn't getting today. So now instead of 50 sales, you're getting 51. So in the old scenario, you had $42,000 that would come from cash and credit, $8,000 from these third-party lease vendors. That's $50,000. It's the same, even though you had one extra sale in the first month, assuming you're not getting a down payment, you're still getting $50,000 because you haven't started collecting your lease payments until future months, right? So it looks exactly the same, but you're out money. And this is what we're concerned about, going from $25,000 to $23,000, but we're gonna address that. And anybody that's doing over $30,000 a month, it's pretty easy to get at least two new sales per month, after the first month, just because there's that many deals that aren't getting approved. So from a simplification standpoint, let's just look at it, right? So you launch the program, you got one new sale, then month 2, you got 2 new sales. This little percentage here is showing you how much you're going to make after 12 months, how much more money, 6%. So how much money? That's another $1,555 per month. This is after your COGS and expenses. I've factored in how much it costs to run this program because we do it all for you. You can look at the different options without us doing it, but this is factored with us doing it for you. So you're going to make 6% more in your money. That means that you went from making 25 net after, or gross profit after COGS and expenses, to 26,555. So is an extra $1,555 per month worth it for having your own program with not really having? Some people say, yeah, just that alone is enough. So what are some other numbers? Well, again, people are worried about this going from $25,000 to $2,373. That's a decrease of $1,279. So that's a hit. Can you swallow that first month of making a little bit less money, knowing that in the long term you're going to make more money? In fact, you're going to make another $25,000 in the first year. And what's the total cash needed? Because this $25,000, people were always like, okay, how long is it going to take me to get back to $25,000? So no. Here. So it's going to take you till month 7 to get back up to $25,000. So if I added up the difference between $25,000 and the decrease, that's this total amount. So that's the total amount of cash that you would need to reserve over that 7-month period to make the transition. Some people don't have that cash. I get it, because your revenue is coming in, you're buying new inventory. But this is also the worst case scenario. So, this is a little typo there. This is assuming the store does not have any existing inventory to make the transition. So this is, you sell a couch, you got to go spend the money immediately to replace that couch. Lots of times people have inventory. You may be able to do different deals on couches that have been maybe sitting on the floor for a while. Maybe you have backup inventory, like more mattresses and things like that. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room. So this is, again, the worst case scenario behind this model. So this is your total gross profit before we get into the fun numbers. This is how much money you're going to make total after the first year, gained revenue per month, gross profit per month, right? So again, this yellow number, 2655 versus 25. Now what happens when we are going to take one of these 8 deals that you're sending to a third-party lease vendor and bring them in-house? Let's just say I'm going to do one. I'm going to do one per month for the next 12 months. I just went from 6% to 8% more money. So another $2,095 per month. Okay, that's a little bit more exciting. 8% more of my money. Maybe it's not enough to make you excited to make the switch. Okay, but we know we can switch a lot more of these. And we also know we can sell more here. So let's just say, still just start out slow, 1, and then you're going to do 3 new sales per month. And you want to move half of those 8 third-party deals over to in-house. Now you're making 17% on your money. Another $42.41 per month. So here you go, $29,241 versus $25,000. I mean, that's good money right there. A lot of people would want to do this program just for that. Again, this is not any new customers. These are people that are already coming in your store, and now you're able to close them, or they're already coming to your store and they're already buying from you. You're just, instead of sending them to a third-party vendor, you're going to take them in-house, and you're going to make, another $42.41 per month, or 17% more on your money. Okay, but it's going to cost you at the peak almost $5,000 in a month, because this goes down from 25 to 19 to make this transition. That can hurt, which it'll cost you a total of $22,000, even though you're going to end up making all that back in the first year, and in the second year make even more money. But okay, that could be painful. So how do we do that? Well, again, I've been showing you the worst case scenario. So let's look at some other factors here. So one of the big things is, first of all, your default rate. So here we had 17%, and this is 22,000. 30% default rate is really high. So we just talked to a client, they had a 12.5% default rate. they're doing a decent job. They don't have, as great technology, in my opinion, as we have. They're doing a lot of them themselves. So we know we can beat 12.5%, but let's just change this to 15%. See what happens here. Now they're making 26% on their money, and this came down to $19,000. Wow, what a difference. So is 26% more on your money? Gross profit after year one at $28,000, or another $6,400 gross profit per month. So you go from $25,000 a month to $31,000 a month. I mean, that's now we're getting exciting. I mean, we're inching towards that 30% number, right? Okay, so the other factor that we want to look at is this down payment. So right here, down payment. So people are like, "Ooh, I'm worried about approving some bad borrowers." Again, on bad borrowers, I just want to show you something. Even if you had a 40% default rate on your portfolio, you're going to make more money than you are today on this overall over the long term. So you had a 40% default rate, so you're approving a lot of people to get new sales, and you're on average going to make $820 net per day. Get as much money, and this is here. So, but our system's going to do a good job. So again, let's look at it 15%. But I just want to show you, because a lot of people get concerned about approving borrowers, our underwriting, and we have amazing underwriting and all the technology and AI, and I can cover that in a different call if you book an appointment with us. But we take care of all of that for you. But I just wanted to show you, even if you screw things up, or we screwed things up, or you didn't use the greatest technology in the world, and you had a 40% default rate, you still on average are going to make more per deal. But you don't want that. You want to, if you're going to do this, you want to make the big money. So the other factor is down payment. So what our system does is, in our underwriting matrix on somebody with a low credit score, so let's say somebody under a 620 comes in, we're going to charge them a down payment. So watch this number here, this 18,979. If I say, okay, I'm going to take a 20% down payment, that just dropped it to 14,000. So the cash needed to transition goes down if you're taking some cash up front. So the best way to do this is to have a mixture. The best thing to do is you want more people financing. You want, the way to make the most money is to take 0%, that's going to maximize this. Take as many deals from the third-party vendors as possible. So let's just take this to 6. So now you're above 30%, and to close as many new deals as possible. So now you're making 40% more on your money. You're making almost an extra 10 grand on your money. So you're going from 25,000 to almost 35,000 a month, which is crazy. Just with a 15% default rate, very doable, not taking any money down, closing more of the existing customers that are walking out the door, and taking, a lot of these in-house deals, away from them and bringing it. And that's how to maximize the amount of money that you're going to make. But we know you don't want to do that right away. So what our system does, it looks at those high-risk borrowers. It's going to take, as high, 20%. What the magic is, and here's the other thing, when people really get comfortable, is you can implement this into your marketing. You can literally tell your customers that we approve everybody. How do you do that, Rhett? What if they come in with a bankruptcy and a 400 credit score? Approve them. Guess what our system can do? If your cost of goods sold is 50%, you can take 50% down payment. You're approving everybody. So on that $1,000 couch, and even if they don't walk out, you're still on average going to make more money. So, if they're going to walk out, if you're going to start approving more people, you're still going to make more money. Take a 50% down payment. It costs you 50%. Okay, you didn't make a couch. You get some new inventory on there. You get another one. You collect some more payments on it. You're going to increase your profitability. Our system will do that. So it's just a matter of how much risk and how aggressive you want to get in the beginning. And that's one of the things we do when we have a one-on-one with you, is we'll kind of determine how to tweak our underwriting matrix based on your risk portfolio. How much cash do you want to risk? How long do you want to take to transition? Some people are just like, you know what? I want to go after everybody, that I'm going to follow the program exactly like it is. I'm going to have the same exact factor rate. I want to get as many of these deals, and bam, you can make 47% more. Our system will do that. So it's just a matter of how much risk and how aggressive you want to get in the beginning. And that's one of the things we do when we have a one-on-one with you, is we'll kind of determine how to tweak our underwriting matrix based on your risk portfolio. How much cash do you want to risk? How long do you want to take to transition? Some people are just like, you know what? I want to go after everybody that I'm going to follow the program exactly like it is. I'm going to have the same exact factor rate. I want to get as many of these deals, and bam, you can make 47% more on your money. There's a few secrets in this whole model, and it really comes down to the cost of goods sold. We can make an aggressive underwriting decision without taking too much risk and approve more customers so that you can close more new sales. And even with a higher default rate than a third-party lease vendor would do, we can bring in more third-party deals and over time transition it to the point where in year 2 you're doing 80% of the deals in-house and you're just keeping 20% just for cash flow from those third-party lease vendors. Or you can just keep this as a backup, whatever you want. But again, we'd be happy to talk to you, have a one-on-one with you. We would break down and use this calculator for your model, put in your numbers, your store numbers, and try to tweak it, and then talk to you about what our software does. You know, what does our software do? Our software takes all this, puts it in technology, everything's online, just like your vendors are today. We give you an application right from the store. They can go on their phone and start the app, finish it. We collect payments, we do the underwriting, we do the origination, we have all the technology to check for fraud, to make sure the borrowers are good and they are who they say they are. We collect down payment, we put the money right in your bank account when they make a payment. We have an online system to show you who the borrowers are and where your money is at all times, all of these things. So you can really watch your money grow and get to this goal where hopefully you're making an extra 10 grand a month if you're doing 25 grand a month. So hope you're excited as a lot of the retailers that we're talking to are, and would love to talk to you again. So book an appointment and talk to me or one of my reps, and we'll go through this calculator together and talk to you about what our software does, and that is definitely an option for you. So thanks for